Hey, what's up guys? Hardleg Joe here with what a deck profile for the Crytal Abundance Turbo deck. I'm just going to go through everything in here, and then I'll explain how it works. So for monsters, we're playing 1 Masterpiece, 3 Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus, 3 Amber Mammoth, 3 Topaz Tiger, and 1 each of Cobalt Eagle and Amethyst Cat. For spells, we're playing 3 Crystal Bonds, 2 Crystal Blessing, 3 Rare Value, 3 Rainbow Bridge, 3 Crystal Abundance, 3 Terraforming, 2 Dark World Dealings, 2 Crystal Beacon, 3 Crystal Tree, 1 Crystal Release, and 3 Ancient City Rainbow Ruins. We're playing no traps, as you can see, and for our extra deck, we've got 1 each of Utopia the Lightning, Utopia Prime, Dark Rebellion, Regular Utopia, Ragna Zero, Crooked Cook, Baguska, Heartland Draco, Castell, Gagaga Cowboy, Borolo Dragon, Decode Talker, Akashic Magician, Mrs. Radiant, and Proxy Dragon. The side deck I'll go over in a bit. So as the name implies, this is a Crytal Abundance Turbo. If you're unfamiliar with this card, it is send 4 Crystal Beast cards from your spell trap zone to the graveyard, then send all cards on the field to the graveyard, and special summon as many Crystal Beast monsters as possible from your graveyard, up to the number of cards your opponent controlled that were sent to the graveyard by this card's effect. Using this effect while your opponent has 5 or more monsters on the field usually results in an OTK. We're playing all the high attack Crystal Beast monsters, 1800, 17, and 1600, and if you can get 5 of them on the field and attack directly because this will clear everything, then you've just got game. That's also why we're not playing Ruby Carbuncle. I'm sure a lot of people are curious. This is a really good Crystal Beast. If it's special summoned from the Spell Trap Zone, you can special summon all the Crystal Beasts in your Spell Trap Zone, which is really good for making links and for making Ixies, but we're not focusing on that. We're just putting cards in the Spell Trap Zone, then using this and attacking with enough damage to do game. As for how to get your Crystal Beasts in the Spell Trap Zone, if you're unfamiliar with them, all the Crystal Beasts share the same effect. If this face-up card is destroyed while it's in a monster card zone, you can place it face-up in your Spell Trap Zone as a continuous spell card instead of sending it to the graveyard. So all of these have the potential to become spell traps just by putting them on the field and having them destroyed. In addition, we have several effects to put them into the spell trap zone. Sapphire Pegasus in particular, when it's summoned, either normal or special summoned, you can place 1 Crystal Beast monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard face up in your spell trap zone as a continuous spell card. We're also playing this new Crystal Bonds. This is add 1 Crystal Beast monster from your deck to your hand, and if you do, place 1 Crystal Beast with a different name from your deck into your spell trap zone. And then we've also got Crystal Tree. This is each time a Crystal Beast monster is placed into either player's spell trap zone, you can place 1 crystal counter on this card. You can send this card to the graveyard, and for each counter that was on it, you can take Crystal Beast monsters from your deck and place them face up in your spell trap zone. This can be kind of situational, but if you open up with this and Crystal Bonds, you get your 4 monsters in the Spell Trap Zone on the first turn. You play Crystal Bonds, that'll put 1 in your Spell Trap Zone immediately, which will give this 1 counter. Normally you're going to search out Sapphire Pegasus. When you normal summon that, it'll put a monster in your Spell Trap Zone, which will add another counter to this. So the 2 that you get from these 2, combined with the 2 when you send Crystal Tree, that makes 4. In addition, there's a couple other combos you can do. We've got Crystal Beacon. If there's 2 monsters already in your Spell Trap Zone, you can special summon 1 Crystal Beast from your deck. And because Sapphire Pegasus' effect activates when it's summoned, you can use this to put another Sapphire Pegasus and get a 3rd monster into your Spell Trap Zone. All of these cards I mentioned can be searched with Rainbow Bridge, which is simply add 1 Crystal Spell Trap from your deck to your hand, except for Violent Crystal or Crystal Counter. This is why we can afford to run Crystal Beacon at 2, Crystal Blessing at 2, and Crystal Release at 1. This is fairly simple, just equipped to a Crystal Beast, it gains 800 attack, and when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, place 1 Crystal Beast from your deck into your Spell Trap Zone face up. This card's not the greatest, especially in the modern game, but if you're doing the OTK variant and you can search it out with a Rainbow Bridge, sometimes it can be the difference between getting game and not getting it. Likewise, we're playing 2 Crystal Blessing. This is target 2 Crystal Beasts in your graveyard, place them face up in your Spell Trap Zone. This is great not only for if you do go into Ixies, since the monsters will go to the graveyard, but along with Rare Value and Dark World Dealings, which are kind of our draw power. Rare Value is if there are 2 or more Crystal Beast cards in your Spell Trap Zone, your opponent chooses 1, sends them to the graveyard, and you draw 2 cards. And Dark World Dealings is just each player draws 1 card and each player discards 1 card. Both of these will put Crystal Beast monsters into the graveyard, which you can then just place back into your spell trap zone using Crystal Blessing. And that just leaves us with Ancient City Rainbow Ruins. This is their field spell, and it gains effects equal to the number of Crystal Beast cards in your spell trap zone. If you have 1, then the field spell can't be destroyed by card effects. If you have 2, once per turn during either player's turn, you can have the battle damage you take from one attack. If you have 3 during either player's turn when a spell trap is activated, you can send one Crystal Beast monster you control to the graveyard to negate that activation, which is pretty decent negation that can also be used with Crystal Blessing, especially if you're going first, just to get the one negate out there. 4 or more during your main phase, you can draw an additional card, which is even more draw power into the deck. And then 5 during your main phase, you could special summon one Crystal Beast from your spell trap zone, which is good if you get your whole spell trap zones filled up. You can then summon one of the monsters out of it and free up the space to activate Crystal Abundance if need be. This is so useful not only for draw power, but the having the battle damage helps you stall. Negating spell traps can be useful. That's why we play the terraforming in here. And really, that's just the main crux of the deck. Everything else is just sort of like a little bit extra. The extra deck is just full of rank 4 Ixies and random Link monsters. You can really play whatever you want. Just a toolbox. I rarely go into things. The only thing I'd really suggest is Gaga Cowboy to finish people off with that 800 burn damage, and Heartland Draco because you often have continuous spell traps. Everything else, just play whatever you feel like. Other than that, we've got our one-of Masterpiece, which I don't think I really need to explain. If you've been playing the game in the last couple of years, you know what Masterpiece does. You can tribute summon it using continuous spell traps, which makes it perfect for this deck as sort of a boss monster if you happen to draw into it with all your draw power. You can also banish a continuous spell card from your graveyard to destroy a card on the field, and we've got the 1 in Crystal Tree, so that can work. The only interesting thing to note about this is if you tribute Crystal Beast monsters that are acting as spell traps, this will only make him immune to monster effects. It won't make him immune to spells, because these are monster cards, even if they're being treated as spells. There's also the other Crystal Beast effects that really don't come into play for the most part, but I'll go ahead and mention them just in case you're curious. Amber Mammoth, if your opponent attacks a Crystal Beast monster, you can redirect the attack to it. Topaz Tiger gains 400 attack when it attacks a monster. Cobalt Eagle can target a face-up Crystal Beast card you control and return it to the top of the deck, which is only really here in case you run into a situation where you accidentally fill up your entire back row with Crystal Beast monsters, and then they destroy or banish your Rainbow Ruins. This can be a good way to unclog your back row. And Amethyst Cat, this card can attack directly, but when it does, any battle damage it inflicts is halved. Marginally useful, but oftentimes if you get really close to OTKing them, this can be that final 600 damage that pushes them over. Especially if you get Crystal Release, then it becomes 1000 damage. And that just brings us to the side deck. Like I said, Ruby Carbuncle, if you want to play a more spam deck, this can work because it can flood the field with Crystal Beast monsters. You can get like 4 on the field. It just has very little attack, so using it with Crystal Abundance doesn't really do you any good. Maybe play it as a 1-of or a 2-of instead of Cobalt Eagle or Amethyst Cat, but I actually like these more than the Carbuncle. We've also got the Crystal Protector. I don't think this is out in America yet. You can discard it when a Crystal Beast monster you control battles an opponent's monster, and it gains double its original attack during that damage calculation, but it's destroyed at the end of the damage step. It's not great since it doesn't really further your win condition, but if you need to stall a little bit more if your opponent's OTKing you, turning this up to like a 3200 can be a good way to stop it from being destroyed for 1 turn. And then we just got more true Draco stuff. You can put in Dragonic Diagrams, you can put in Ignis Heat and Majesty Maiden. Since this whole deck runs around continuous spell cards, and since you can destroy cards on the field to turn them into continuous spell cards, there is some synergy with them. I didn't really want to make a true Draco deck, but you could just as easily take out the Rainbow Ruins, put in these, or maybe put a couple of each, and try to synergize them in an interesting way. And that's your deck for the week. It's a pretty simple deck, pretty old school, not the best deck, but it does work, especially in a more casual format. Next week, no idea what I'm looking at yet, but it should be interesting. So until then, good luck, and have fun.